But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Let's begin it.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
Listen to all this,
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Let's begin it.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
Listen to all this,
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
Assassination.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with money.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Let's be at it.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such hideousness in all my life.
Assassination.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with money.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Let's be at it.
Number ZZ9 plural Z alpha. Number ZZ9. I said I've never seen such idiots in all my life.
That is Lord, they say.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Like a furry torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with Buddy.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
Hello and welcome to HBR Talk 326. Why isn't my... Oh, there it's moving. Okay. Gosh, OBS has to screw something up every single time, and I took extra time on the sound to make sure it was working, but it looks like it's working now. So we'll start over again just in case you couldn't hear my first sentence. But again, hello and welcome to HBR Talk 326. Who would do this and why? I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with the personification... Oh, no, wait. Sorry, guys. No, we do not have the personification of perceptivity tonight.
He's absent.
He is. He is in Scotland. Is he doing something that we should be plugging?
No,
Oh,
he's
okay.
just with the fam.
Okay, well, that's always good. You gotta visit your family.
Yeah.
Just making
Yeah.
sure that there's not, like, some content that we should be, like, making sure people check out.
Yeah.
But, alrighty then. So, we are here with Nonsense Annihilator Lauren Brooks, and tonight we're going to continue talking about some of the weird shit that is surrounding this recent assassination attempt on Trump. And I initially had the wrong window because I thought Mike was going to be here, so I'm doing a little adjustment here. But so you can see we're going to continue going over this. I think I'm actually going to cut out the text because I don't need it. We're going to continue going over this video and a few other bits of information that I think are just interesting. And you know, I'm not... There's a bit of a disclaimer I could make. You know, we're not saying that any of this speculation is definite, undeniable, but there's a lot that points to some things that are very dark in this situation that I think men really should be paying attention to, especially men who don't have any of the characteristics that the government uses to excuse men from being subject to the draft or expected to serve in wartime, because there's just some shit is happening. We'll just say that shit is happening. There's too much to discuss as far as, and you guys know what I mean by shit is happening. So make sure, Lauren, you're in the stream that I am sharing here, and I will go through our little gotta do what we gotta do before the stream, and then we will get into it. As always, Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions, and as experiences both recent and long past have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. They've made it clear that for people like us, relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work is treading on thin ice, or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. In light of this, we strongly encourage our supporters to switch at least their support for us to feedthebadger.com, the most stable way to help us out. And if you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platform's tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And as always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, which is why you should further provoke the Thought Police by tracking our thought-provoking discussions on honeybadgerbrigade.com, where you can find your way to all of our content, as well as a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. And with that, so last week we were looking at this video, and we got about 8 minutes into it, and we learned some fairly interesting things about our would-be assassin. That he's kind of looks like the dime store Gary Busey. So it kind of looks a little bit crazy. And he's got a crazy history. I mean, remember we talked about how many arrests? Like dozens of arrests in the past. For some of them for things that you just can't get arrested for and there not be any follow-up. Except this guy. Not everybody else, just this guy. And that is the thing that first got my attention. And as we continued looking at this, we're looking at his history in Ukraine and everything. And I'm comparing this like...
In Ukraine? Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I missed last week.
Oh, not last. I keep saying last week. Yeah, we were on last week. Were we on? Or it might have been 2 weeks ago.
Not me.
We missed last week. It was 2 weeks ago. So, I think that's right. I've missed so many days because of sickness lately that it's just been a mess. Any case, so sorry about that. But to recap, this man has been involved in recruiting efforts in Ukraine, where he went to Ukraine and made promises that he could get no-look visas, which I never heard of before. A no-look visa is apparently you show this visa and they don't check anything else. There's no background look. There's no questions from Border Patrol. You just go on, hi. So a guy with all those arrests in his history can go to Ukraine and can arrange through the United States government these no-look visas. And he wasn't asking American citizens to go. He wasn't asking Ukrainian men to fight, right? He was talking to ISIS. He was talking to disenfranchised ISIS fighters. So he was promising to be able to get men who were on no-fly lists as terrorists into a foreign country that is not just foreign to them, but also to him. He had a whole website set up for this and everything. And my thinking on this, like, everybody's talking about this in the news, like, oh, this is no big deal and everything, except for a very small few on the right who are deal. Acknowledging, like, this is some deep state shit, because you cannot do that.
This has got every fucking fingerprint of the deep state, of the Fed, all of them. Holy shit. I mean, take your pick.
Every three-letter agency in the government has to be involved with this guy. I mean, you really cannot just travel to a foreign country with an arrest record. No,
and because they all work in conjunction, right? So they all have to talk. They all have to know that these shady motherfuckers are doing some shady shit over here. Let's just let them in through the back door right in plain sight while nobody's paying attention.
Right?
Holy hell! And people think that this is not something that our government would do.
Yeah, and like I said, you cannot get into a foreign country. You can't leave the United States like that very easily with an arrest record. Especially not one that long. Like, that's a hell of a rap sheet. Then on top of that, getting into another country with an arrest record, and then being able to make the connections that he's made and promising to be able to get other people into a country that is not his native country with that history. So for anybody that's like, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Okay, fine. Here's my tinfoil hat. There is obvious evidence of a conspiracy here.
Yeah.
An American citizen starts talking to, as you can see on the screen, soldiers from Afghanistan, Romania, Pakistan, Syria, and Israel. The note added, subject stated that he obtains money from his wife to help fund his trips to Ukraine. Yeah, because we believe that. Yeah, it's all from this one woman. It has absolutely nothing to do with, him getting money via the state. But
how old is this guy?
He's middle-aged. He's a Gen Xer. He's too old to fight. He was told he was too old to fight, which I don't buy either, because in Ukraine they're drafting men in their 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So some guy in his 50s shows up, and he's not one of theirs. They're not going to be like, "Oh yeah, no, we can't make a target out of you." They'll let him go get shot right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's really interesting here, and like I said, as we've been talking about this, I've done some research into his past. Basically the information's all been archived. It's all out there and everything. And we've had, it's not just me, we've had other people at HBR doing the same kind of research. And somebody posted a link to an article where, his son had referenced this article prior to him making the news for something else. His son had referenced this article that explained one of his arrests was for possessing a weapon of mass destruction. And initially, what was interesting about that article was that the weapon of mass destruction was a gun. And here we're going to switch to this article. He barricaded himself in a business during a 3-hour standoff. Was pulled over. This is, now, I will point this out real quick before we go further. I don't know if you can see it on the screen here. Let me look. So what it says here at the top from staff reports, all right, December 16, 2002. So this was published in 2002, updated January 24, 2015. So it sat from 2002 to 2015 with some kind of, thing in it that was not what they wanted to say, at least not in 2015, and in 2015 they decided to change it. That's right about the time, by the way, where it became pretty obvious that Trump was going to win the election in 2016, that he was the Republican candidate. He was the... It's kind of weird, the timing of that update. Because, it's after 13 years.
Do we know what they changed?
No.
Do we know what they changed?
No. And you want to know why we don't know what they changed? Because... I'm going to move this over. The first archive of this... Let me move this window again, here, video window, so you can actually see the dates on all of these. The first archive of this, I know this is really small in the video window for everybody, but this date right here, these are all from the 15th and the 16th of September 2024. Right? Now, I also looked at the time that I found this. I looked on the Wayback Machine, and there was also nothing on the Wayback Machine prior to September 15th. I was going to show you that today, but there is a problem with the Wayback Machine. All of a sudden, it's getting DDoSed.
Shut the fuck up.
Like, you cannot make this shit up.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. Like,
we need a soundboard. We need that X-Files sound.
I know. There's no. This isn't proof of anything, right?
No, of course not. Of course
happens, but I've never seen the Wayback Machine get DDoSed before.
Wow. It must be wilder than a fucking Diddy party.
It may have happened before. It's possible that the Wayback Machine has previously been DDoSed, and I just don't know about it. Like I'm leaving it open because like I said, having that tinfoil hat doesn't mean we got to be stupid. But boy, that's fucking weird.
Man, you know what? I'm sticking with my tinfoil hat, man.
Right?
I mean, all right, look, for legal reasons, I'll say allegedly.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing specifically to allege right now. Like, I can't say,
that's true.
Well, the Wayback Machine's getting DDoSed. But if I check back later and I find out that suddenly there's something on the Wayback Machine that's excluded about this, like this archive is excluded or something else, like if it goes down, that's you guys have seen at least that this archive exists. Man with gun barricades self inside business, and you guys have seen that this article exists, and this is about Ryan Routh. At this time he was 36, right? He was charged with possession of a weapon of mass destruction, referring to a fully automatic machine gun. So they called that a weapon of mass destruction.
Unbelievable.
Okay. I just want to point something else out about this. And I'm not saying, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, you're just supporting Bush. I'm not supporting Bush. I hate the media. There's a difference. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we heard after the whole fiasco with weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, that no weapons of mass destruction were found because there were no nukes. Mm-hmm. This man did not have a nuke. He had a machine gun, a fully automatic machine gun. Don't know what kind, because it doesn't say, but he had a fully automatic machine, whatever was available in 2002. Whatever was probably widely available. It might even not have been. It might have been whatever is available in the military.
Wait.
But
what month in 2002 was that?
This would have been December that this came out. December in 2002. So
about a year after a year and some change after 9/11.
Yeah. So for having a machine gun, you're charged with having a weapon of mass destruction. Right, but if words
mean what we want them to mean,
yeah. If there's question of whether there was reason for concern about a nation that wasn't supposed to have weapons of mass destruction having them, well then it's nukes. It only is nukes, right? So there's other reasons to be suspicious of the whole warmongering period of the Bush era and the Obama era, the Clinton era, the Bush Sr. era, the Reagan era. Like, we could go back through the entire 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. It's all suspicious. But that doesn't mean that when the media criticizes them, you can trust them either. Because, obviously, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, so when we talked about last week, the FBI, the CIA, exploiting nut jobs for jobs like this, for shit like this. What this news story does establish, like, nobody who is of sound mind and in sound circumstances barricades themselves inside a business and has a standoff with police carrying a fully automatic machine gun. That's just bizarre. But the weirdest part about this is this guy being arrested and charged. I haven't found a lot of information about him being convicted of anything.
Being what of anything? You
kind of broke
up a little bit.
Convicted of anything. So I look at this and I'm going, this incident happens. They pull this guy out of this building. They arrest him. He's done a whole bunch of things. The worst of which was enough to get him a charge of possessing a weapon of mass destruction. Which I wouldn't want to be around somebody that was nuts like that and decided to shoot everybody around him. But yeah, this is definitely weird. Again, why did we hear about all these arrests and we haven't heard about him being convicted of anything in the past? You know, why is the main most used archive site suddenly getting DDoSed? Why is the oldest archive of a news story, a news article that has been on the internet for more than 20 years, only from a month ago? And I don't have answers to those questions. I just have questions. Right? But that's not the end all be all of what we're discussing here. Like I said, as you consider the weirdness of that, you know, and the indications that there is definite connection between this man and government agencies, government entities. Also consider the fact that we have been discussing, like the last show on this, we discussed, it was last week. I think I had just Mike last week, and I've got just you this week. But here's a guy who is, as an apparent representative, an apparent man with connections within the U.S. government, and an apparent man with connections within the Ukrainian government, recruiting from groups of men who have been disenfranchised, who have been underdogs, men who have been exploited by military services, not services, but
I mean, isn't
organizations
that like all
in
of
their
them?
own countries, right? Well,
isn't that all of them?
yeah, you have
the most
different
part.
circumstances. Like if somebody came to the United States and actually tried to attack here, and men enlisted to fight, I wouldn't consider them exploited. I would consider them angry for a good reason and ready to defend their country and their home, right?
Right.
But when the government drafts men in the United States, and other governments do this same thing, they create conditions for the draft that excuse men on the basis of, oh, you're a dad, oh, you are in this profession that we need a lot of men to be in, you know, oh, you have these things going on in your life. And what you end up with is the men who are most likely to actually get rounded up and forced to fight are men who don't have relationships with women. They're not married, they don't have children. Men whose jobs are replaceable, make them replaceable, right? Men who are from lower income families. Men who are of average or below IQ because they're you know, not going to be in the jobs that you really have to know your shit to be in. If they do get drafted and they're not in those groups, that they're like men who are higher IQ men who are in specialized jobs and everything, the military scoops those guys up and puts them in specialized positions a lot of times. And, you know, some people do fall through the cracks. But if you're going to be cannon fodder, if you're going to be front lines, you're going to be a grunt, you're probably going to be one of those guys that the government considers disposable. And a big segment of that is guys that would be considered incels.
Yeah.
And so I look at that. You look at ISIS, that movement was largely comprised of guys that would be considered incels. And one of the big promises that is made to them to get them to do what they do is women. Contact with women. Before or after death. We will find you a bride. Well, if you die doing this, you get 72 virgins. Right? And it's in a lot of nations where there's poverty, there's violence, there's a history of like a complete lack of resources for men. guys in the military have a better chance of getting married. Guys in the military have a better chance of getting respected in their community and so on. So they take these guys that are in rough situations and exploit them this way. And here we have a organized, very weirdly, like, cover your tracks kind of organized looking action with this guy. And he's the guy that tried last to assassinate the candidate that wants to stop the war in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's just it's dirty. It's dirty.
Yeah. Such a weird situation. So, with that, that's sort of the best I can do on a recap here. But I'm going to go ahead and hit... I might take it back a little bit just to go over this. We were at 8:01 at the end of the last show, so let's see. What if I take it back to... We'll go back 20 seconds. And see if it'll play. Come on, computer. Don't give me that circle. Stop it. I was going to download this video. I might have to do that. I really didn't want to because it's part of the interest being able, for me anyway, being able to show whose it is and stuff. I'm going to move this back over so you can actually see it. Well, why will it not play? For crying out loud. This bullshit. Alright, guys, well, give me a minute. I'll just keep talking about it while we go through. If you can't get a video to play on, so there's a whole bunch of ways to download a Twitter video. I'm going to bring up a Google search for it so you can see. So you can see there's like just tons of, and there isn't necessarily one that I've found that I like the best out of everything. You can also search download X video free online, but I've found calling it Twitter still works. And if you don't have safe search on, you get porn anytime that you search anything X, and I don't want that. So we're going to download this video, and we'll just make it... Oops,
yeah, Elon really should have thought about that a little bit better.
Oh, that's because I copied the link, and it didn't copy, so we'll go back and copy again. This happens to me a lot, too, when I do keystrokes. Copy video address. Let's try that again. It was trying to download the news story I just showed you guys. That's not gonna work, right? And I don't think we need 1920 by 1080 because I'm not showing you the whole thing. So we're just gonna go like right in the middle here. And this only takes a minute. We're gonna put it. Yeah, we'll leave it in the downloads. I had to download my own video from my own computer. I put it on, I share things back and forth from my computer by putting them in Discord and then downloading them from Discord. So, I have other things in there, but, let's see here. I don't know if it shows what I'm looking at or not, but it'll take a minute. Alright, come on. There we go. It's like not even wanting to... I don't want that. I want the file. And then I will switch to that in the window so you can see it. It's just taking a minute to download. but then you'll see, and because I've been impatient and I've clicked on it twice, it's now opening like 15 windows to my downloads folder. This is what happens when Hannah gets impatient. But if it won't play for me on Twitter, we'll play it off of Twitter. And I have that. We'll switch to the window as soon as it gets done downloading. It's not a big file, and you can do this with, like, if you see any video on X that you want, you can download it this way. Alright, I'm seeing stuff in the I gotta check. It looks like the Rumble chat is saying that the Rumble video is not playing, but it should be. It was. I don't understand why it would not be playing now. Yeah, it's playing. It's showing on my screen. It's not Rumble. The problem's not Rumble. It's fine for Mr. 303, so Fish got nukes. It's working for the rest of us. So I'm gonna type that in really quick. I like the name The Fish Got Nukes, though. That's great. But you have to watch out. They're going to be arrested for having weapons of mass destruction.
Yes. Of mass destruction. Ah! Get it? You don't get it.
Yeah, of mass destruction. I used to have weapons of mass destruction. I lost all my fishing gear years ago, and I don't have anybody to go fishing with anymore. So not that you have to have that. I like to go alone too.
Yeah. I want to go fishing again. Me and Mike did not get the opportunity. Actually, we did, but I left the fishing poles at home, so.
Yeah.
My bad. All
right. So we aren't looking for an app in the Microsoft Store. I have an app for this. Oh, no. Now I can hear myself, damn it. Because the headphones that I have hooked up to the computer I was checking that on are loud. Alright, open with. And I am just going to use Media Player. And it's a slow process. Something is really eating up. It can't be an update because I just updated this morning. And this isn't a big file. Like, I've got files much bigger than this, so it's not that. But we'll see what happens here. I'm really annoyed that this isn't working, though, because I've got 2 other videos that I was hoping we might take a minute to look at. But, let me...
It won't go back to the beginning and play?
Yeah, but we've watched 8 minutes of it.
Well, see if it'll fast forward up until that point. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm a button clicker.
It doesn't fast forward on Twitter. That's one thing.
Oh, that's right.
All right, and it's not going to open in Media Player. Normally, I haven't got any problem with this working, so... What I do wonder is why the hell... I think the reason that my computer is so slow all of a sudden is because it wants me to use Windows 11, and I'm refusing to update, so... Till I absolutely can't use it without Windows 11. Like, really, it's just gonna be... I don't even have that much stuff open on here. I just have OBS... and the source material, which shouldn't be that big of a problem. Wonder what happens if everything slowed down when I opened up that NR news story, so I'm going to close that and archive.is, and we know that Internet Archive is DDoSed, so I'm going to close that. There is a Fox News story that we mentioned last week. He smirked in his mugshot. Let's see if it shows the picture. Like I said, this guy looks like dime store Gary Busey.
Oh God, yeah.
So he also looks like a bit of a simpleton.
Yeah.
He's probably not. It's not a guarantee. Somebody that has he's got that kind of. It's possible that in his smirk is, I'm going to get away with this. I'm covered. But it's also possible that his smirk is, I'm too not right in the head to understand how bad the situation I'm in is. And it's also possible that it's, I'm too messed up in the head to care how bad my situation is.
Mm-hmm.
But
that too.
Like, that's the main thing that I wanted to convey with that. And we got one more. Oh, we went over this. This is another thing we went over last week, this letter. So he wrote this letter. Let's see if they I don't think they show the letter. And he sent it to someone. The letter says, yeah. Well, by the way, he wrote a book. See if the book was about how, let's see, Ukraine's unwinnable war, the fatal flaw of democracy, world abandonment, and the global citizen, Taiwan, Afghanistan, North Korea, World War III, and the end of humanity. And he made the suggestion that Iran should get involved, if I remember right, in Ukraine, or Iran should try to assassinate Trump. It was like really, yeah, Iran should assassinate Trump. That's what his suggestion was. And in the book, he said that he must take part of the blame for the person that we elected for our next president that ended up being brainless, but I am man enough to say that I misjudged and made terrible mistake, and Iran, I apologize, you are free to, like, this is what he wrote, this is what it says in the letter, you are free to assassinate Trump, as well as me for that error in judgment and dismantling of the deal, DOJ documents say. So, again, either he's just completely crazy or something else is going on. The letter he published said that he offered $100,000 bounty, basically, for anybody that would would finish the job.
I think that, I mean, I was just going to say what you had said earlier. Like, it doesn't make sense. It could only be anybody who's sitting there writing a fucking manifesto and you're that involved that you're sitting down and writing out your feelings about this. You know what I mean? Writing a strongly worded letter. You either have to be that mentally in a state of psychosis, or you're an operative for the Fed. And I think that this is where my tinfoil hat is going to be tipping its. I think they use those people. I think people know that they use those people.
I agree.
And that's how we end up with these situations, and how articles get magically changed under everyone's noses, right? Nobody's thinking about this guy. Nobody's thought about this. It's just the most random thing, but it's not random at all, you know? And they will try to make you feel crazy for questioning it. We're not the crazy ones here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's only so much that can go into the pile of weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before you're justified in saying, yeah, I don't care how crazy you think we are. Something fucked up is going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that bothers me about this, and the reason I wanted to talk about all this weirdness, and this guy's connections and everything, is this. There is a history throughout the world of exploitation of men in vulnerable conditions, whether it's they are intellectually disabled, whether they have a mental health condition, whether they are impoverished, whether they have a criminal record, whether it's a combination of those things, whether they're socially excluded, anything that makes men vulnerable to suggestion, to imposition, to basically anybody that might reach out to them and say, hey, we can make things better. We can fix your situation for you, right? Anything that might make men desperate, anything that might make men look for a way to end
how
a
gunmen
degree
get so close to President Trump.
Oh, it's starting.
That gunman had
something's
very
playing.
strange connections, very strange relations.
We're gonna pause this.
And there's only one man.
As soon as I figure out, there we go. Stay paused. Stop circling. Okay, so I will switch my window to this. See if it'll do that. Properties. And I will switch the stream window to it as well. Maybe. But yeah, it anytime there's an opportunity to basically take advantage of men's needs, men's interests, men's inability to recover from something, etc. Like, you find the government in there using men. This might play. Damn it. Let me see if I can... I'm gonna do one more thing here, because it doesn't look like it wants to play wants to show my audio player in OBS, but it might show my Discord screen share. So let me fix the Discord screen share first. Yeah. And everything is just loading super slow for some reason. This computer is not a slow computer, so I don't understand why it's doing this. Like I said, it should not be having this problem. And I'm not certain what's draining it. It shouldn't be, definitely shouldn't be getting drained by the stuff that I'm doing.
I wish I knew how to tell you what to do.
I know. I want to double check something, because Chrome.exe might be what I'm looking for. Look at the tab that I have that open in. So let's try that. So we're going to switch to that in the window. There we go. And then let's see if it'll work. Switching it in. Maybe? No, it just shows our conversation. Well,
come on.
That's annoying too. Alright, so we'll go back to this. So I guess it's not going to... I'll have to figure out why it won't let me do that. Because usually it'll let me pick from any of the windows that I have open, including any kind of app like that. But apparently this time it's like, yeah, fuck you, no.
That's such a pain in the ass.
Right.
Come on, Elon, fix the internet.
Yeah, well, he can only fix one site at a time, and I suspect that this is a Chrome problem and not a Twitter problem.
That's probably true.
So we'll have to change back to the Twitter window and just deal with the fact that Twitter is being slow as shit. That sucks. because you won't be able to see the video. You'll only, well, I suppose if I can't get it to play, we'll listen to the video, in the stream.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've got a lot of podcasts that they don't even get to hear the video or see the video anyway. They can only hear the video. And yeah, there's a lot of buffering. That's the big problem. The buffering that's happening is, I hope that OBS didn't revert my settings. I may not be able to change them if it did. But there's a setting that determines how many kilobytes per second OBS sends out. It looks like it's sending out the right amount. That can slow everything down. And everything was as it was supposed to be before I hit start streaming. But now everything is super slow. Like, the whole thing is just trying to freeze up at this point. I do not understand this. This is not that old of a system, and it shouldn't be having this problem.
Why would it all of a sudden have a problem?
Yeah, it's a very good question. No, it hasn't changed that setting. That setting is as it should be. Everything looks the way it's supposed to look. Alright. It's Discord. The problem is Discord. Discord is being an ass, because Discord is not wanting to let me change the stream back. That pisses me off. Discord shouldn't be having that kind of a problem. It's supposed to be communication, and I'm in streamer mode, which it means it should be working the best that it possibly can be working. It shouldn't be having any problems. Alright, so.
Get your shit together, Rumble.
So what I'm going to do for Lauren, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop screen sharing for a minute because it won't let me change windows. There we go. And then I'm going to start screen sharing again. And I'm going to close this because it's not going to work. Oh, really? Beep at me, Twitter. Or beep at me, Microsoft. Because this is my fault that you're slow. God. The manifesto. Jen Bottle asks if the manifesto of the ass is on the screen. And I'm like, good grief. No, Discord is just being the complete and utter. For fuck's sake. It won't even let me share screen again.
Oh my god.
Like,
Discord has a mind of its own, man. When it wants to just say nope, it will just say no.
Alright, so I'm going to try one more thing. So you're going to see me drop out of the chat for a minute, and then I'm going to be back.
Okay.
Oh, it won't let me disconnect. There we go. Alright. And let's try this again. Get back in here. Alright, I'm back in. Well, wow, that's as slow as my desktop. That's unbelievable. So I have two computers on my desk. One is an actual desktop computer. It's old, and it runs on System 8. And it is so old that I cannot update beyond System 8. Then I have this laptop. This laptop is on System 10. It can handle System 11. It's demanding that I go to System 11, and there's enough changes that I'm lazy and I don't want to do it. But I'm gonna probably end up having to, because this shit keeps happening all too much. And the problem seems to be Discord. And the reason I say that is because usually on this computer, changes on Discord are instantaneous. I do something, it pops up, and it immediately switches. If I switch from one chat to another, it immediately switches to the next chat. If I enter a chat or hang up on a chat, it immediately works. Whereas on my System 8 desktop, my old System 8 desktop, it takes a minute because it's running on something that nothing works with anymore. And everybody keeps saying switch to Linux, like, you know, they're like it's fast food. So there's an issue. If you take somebody who has never done any cooking in a kitchen and tell them just make it from scratch, you're going to get a blank stare. I'm not a programmer. I don't use any. The only thing even related to that I've used is GIMP. I prefer GIMP over Photoshop because GIMP does not cost $1,000 to use, and Photoshop does. And I don't have an extra $1,000 for something that has features I'm not using, when what has all the features I am using is free. So there you go.
That's just I can't imagine what kind of features would it be worth spending that kind of money.
Well, it depends on what kind of professional work you're doing.
All right, yeah.
All right, I'm going to have to actually force quit Discord. Something's going on, and it's probably needing to update, and it does this when it needs to update. Yeah. So let me return to this in a minute. I'm going to hang up again.
Hey.
And we're just going to bump completely out of Discord here. Yeah, it's definitely a Discord issue because Discord doesn't want to close. Good grief. I don't know if switching to Linux is going to fix Discord. But here we go. We'll end Discord. It looks like OBS is actually eating a lot of the CPU, and I don't know if Linux would fix that either. Because it seems like the problem is actually oh, well, there's also the fact that something that I'm not even using right now is updating itself without permission. So there we go. Of course. I'm about to declare Skype malware. Like, at this point, I have Skype on one device, and on every device that is a Windows device, every time the device updates, I end up with Skype on it. I don't want it. And it's actually eating a bunch of memory all of a sudden, and I don't have it open. This is a seriously messed up weirdness. Alright, so let's get back into it. see if getting rid of that and restarting Discord fixes the problem. It should have. It updated when I restarted the computer this morning. There we go. Now here we go back into... That's funny, it opened up really quickly and it didn't update again, so it shouldn't have this kind of problem happening. But it is. It's still delaying. Everything's delayed. Okay. I am back. Let's give this a shot again. That is just... Yeah, and now it is actually... letting me show my screen. Go live. Alright, you should be able to see me again, my window again.
Uh-oh.
Can you see it?
Okay. Yeah.
Oddly enough, the computer is still, like, scrambling. I still don't understand why it's doing that. But, and it still doesn't want to play. So we'll go back to the beginning here. I'm going to try reloading this page. So I'm on this post. It's annoying to have to do all that. But I wonder if I close the other Fox window, maybe Fox... Sometimes Fox News does hinky stuff. And I can close 2 other tabs here because I'm not using them. Don't need that. And I don't need that. So almost everything I have now, I just have X open. And I have this medium thing open. And it sounds like it's starting to... The fan is slowing down. So it may have been... actually having a Fox News or a Guardian article, one of those two things open in my in a tab in the computer, because that actually makes a difference. Weirdly enough. So we'll see if I can get it to even play at all. I'm going to be really annoyed if it still won't play. Right,
how a gunman could get so close to President Trump.
Now,
that gunman had very strange connections, very strange.
So there's the beginning.
And there's only one man who is the
he had introduced
proper person to peel back those dark curtains and show us what's really happening. That man is Mike Benz. He joins us now.
It's not showing at the top of your screen, but Mike Benz, who I am following, who is the executive director of, I can't remember what the FF stands for, but it's Organization Freedom. He's former State Department cyber. So I'm assuming he was cybersecurity. So, but I recommend taking a look at his stuff, because I started following him because of this. This discussion and the things that he was pointing out. Let's see, there we go. And there's right about where we were, so we'll see if it'll play.
And a terrorist shipping depot, and it has been since the 1970s, when the Pakistani ISI, the Pakistani Intelligence Service, was essentially taken over by the Central Intelligence Agency when we were using Pakistan as the main staging point for our training and funding of the Mujahideen, which is the origins of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. This is... All
right, so just briefly, we went over this last week. The Mujahideen is... they're religious warriors, right? So the U.S. and Russia had a proxy war in Afghanistan where Russia supported one side of a religious war, a civil war, and the United States supported the other side of that same civil war. And our country supported religious warriors that eventually became Al-Qaeda. And so we kind of are the Batman in that situation. We created our own enemy, trying to solve a non-issue for us, something that wasn't really an issue for us, at least not on the level that they made it out to be. And of course, I don't think most of the American people were aware that was happening at that time. The only reason I became aware of it was I started looking up information about it when Al-Qaeda initially took over Afghanistan the first time. I was watching late night television with my parents one night, and Jay Leno brought his wife on to talk about how culture in Afghanistan changed for women. And she was just horrified at what was going on there, because, you know, there's a lot of strict rules and everything that women had to face, but the things that she emphasized were that suddenly girls couldn't go to school anymore, and also women couldn't be doctors, but women couldn't go to male doctors, so women were dying in childbirth. And I thought, that's kind of weird. What else is going on there? You know, because she was trying to advocate for the United States to attack and overturn this regime. And I thought, how did this happen? You know, what's the sudden change? What else is going on in that country? Because when that kind of thing is happening, usually there's a whole bunch of other changes that have taken place. And it took a while to even get that information, because back then it wasn't the same internet that it is today. We'll just say that. And so I ended up having to look some things up on the internet and then go look for information in the public library and look for old news articles and all kinds of things. I really should have made an article about it at the time, but I wasn't publishing with anybody. So that didn't happen. But it struck me that the United States had created a problem, and now we had a big Hollywood famous guy appealing to people's compassion for women to solve this problem where women were suffering. It's not, bullshit. She had some points about women's experiences, but I mean, men were being killed. Just outright killed. And, this is the same thing that happened after the United States messily withdrew from Afghanistan during the Biden administration, and it took over in a couple of days. Al-Qaeda took over in a couple of days and started doing the same things. It's all the same stuff that happened before. So yeah, that's what he's talking about here, was that first time Al-Qaeda took over Afghanistan was after we interfered and supported the holy warriors on one side of a holy civil war that we shouldn't have gotten involved in.
This is why all these corrupt banking networks run out of Pakistan as well. Folks can look up a scandal from the CIA bank known as BCCI, Bank of Credit and Commerce International, which grew to be one of the largest banks in the world. It was set.
So I got somebody asking, Taliban equals ISIS. These are all
a CIA front in order to launder drug money when the CIA was funding the Mujahideen against the Soviets in the 1970s, and then money laundering the deposits into this CIA bank with a Pakistani front. And so Pakistan ships.
So I want you guys to pay attention to one specific word there. We're going to go back a little bit here, see if it'll... Whoop, go back a few seconds at a time.
The 1970s, and then money laundering the deposits into this CIA bank with a Pakistani front.
Money laundering. Where have we heard that recently? Oop, you still there, Lauren? I hope I'm not losing Lauren. Hang on a second. I don't want to keep a lot of silence going in the chat because we do have the podcast thing, but if you can hear me, Lauren, speak up. Uh-oh. Alright, well, while I'm waiting for Discord to stop fucking up again, I'm going to read some of the super chats that we've got going on. Albert Nader Retro gave us $10 Canadian and said, I love the bit Jeff Dunham does with his puppet Walter. I have to teach 72 women about sex. Oh my lord, why not give me one slutty broad who knows what she's doing? Yeah. And then Xeranx gave us $5 and said, sent DM to Hannah. Jack Posobiec says Iran threat on Trump is allegedly tied to FBI. No shit, Sherlock. Yeah, I had seen some stuff about that too, and this guy writing that book and everything, I think that's also tied to the FBI. Because remember, there have been other stories come out in the past that indicate that the FBI actually does exploit guys with intellectual and psychological disabilities. There's been some instances where there was one news story that came out where the guy was like schizophrenic or something. Like he didn't just have a disability, a mental health disability. He had the mental health disability that fucks up your perception of things and makes it harder for you to stop someone else from exploiting you. And they not only groomed him to commit a terrorist act, but they also provided him transportation and materials and then tried to blame him for it. And his parents actually ended up having to testify in court. He mentally and physically could not have done this on his own. And that's the only reason that they didn't get away with doing that to him. But in any case, so I've got those. I don't have any super chows at the moment. And Bad Sad says, your Discord computer is not showing the display in the window. I'm not sure what that means because I'm seeing it in OBS. Both computers have Discord. I'm in the live show on Discord. So if you don't have access to the live show in our Discord, you wouldn't be seeing it. But in any case, and I'm still not hearing from Lauren. I don't know if it's my end or Lauren's end, but she seems to be completely gone. I want to make sure that I haven't completely lost Lauren before I go on with this. This is a screwy night. So apparently the stream is buffering a lot in Rumble as well. Yeah, that's a good question. So Albert Nader Retro gave us $2 Canadian, said, is it OBS or OBS? Packard, I answered your question in the Discord, in a DM a little bit ago. It should... Yeah, it should be showing in your DMs. Along with the question that you asked previously that I hadn't answered because I didn't see it. But yeah. I'm still not hearing back from Lauren. That's so weird. And my computer is going ballistic again. Like, it doesn't usually do this. All of a sudden I start talking about this weird shit, and now everything in my system is going nuts. You cannot make this shit up. I can't believe, that it's not a problem with my system. It's got to be a problem with my system. But it's still weird for it to just be suddenly happening like this. But it seems like I completely lost Lauren. Packard in the chat, I am hoping you mean mowing the lawn. We aren't advertising the other kind of grass. But yeah, please hold while NSA cleans your shit. Yeah, I'm about wondering here, like, if yeah, my computer on screen normally shows a Discord mic volume light up. Yeah, it's not doing that. In fact, it's the link to the Discord that's supposed to be showing the microphone and everything stopped working a few shows ago, and hasn't for a while. I really don't want to start the stream over from scratch, and I think we'll have the same problem. There's not a setting that's incorrect. Your neighbors grow that. Yeah, my neighbors don't, but I used to have neighbors that sold it, along with a few other interesting things. Let's see what happens if I... take a look at... I'm in my task manager screwing around with things now to see if I can get it to stop behaving badly. But it depends on whether or not I can actually... It looks like it's still OBS. OBS is going ballistic for some stupid reason. It did update recently, and I'm hoping that that doesn't mean that it's going to be like this all the time, because that would really suck. We'll have to find some other thing to use or get a new computer, and I really don't want to pay for a new computer right now. And if OBS isn't working properly with this computer all of a sudden after this last update, it means it's got something that requires something I don't have. So, but yeah, it's just completely ballistic. And it won't let me fix the problem in the task manager either, because it won't show me OBS in the task manager. It doesn't exist. Well, that's weird. Was that a Lauren? Lauren, your sound jumped a minute, but I didn't hear any words. This might not even be at my end, actually. If I heard it might be, Lauren, you might need to unplug and plug back in. Or with the microphone, or hang up and come back in. That's another possibility. I don't think she's asleep, because she was talking just a minute ago. I may have to go on with this regardless, but this is ridiculous for this to not be working like this. Yeah, okay, so Meredith says that there are super chows, so there should be. Let me look. Ah, there we go. Yeah, now it's showing that 2 came through at 8:18. Zapier gave us $5, but it doesn't have a text that goes with it. And then Meredith G gave us $5 and said, HBR Talk 327, the Taliban, ISIS, PLO, Hezbollah, Hamas are all descendant organizations from the Muslim Brotherhood. Yep, that's correct. And are Islamo-fascist, basically going all the way back to the Brits and the Germans, the political West, the Middle East royal families, the communists, etc., all got in bed with some Islamo-fascists, or because they were there was some profit in it for someone. Oil, military-industrial complex, human trafficking, opium. Someone has figured out a way to profit, and we all lose. There was some serious maneuvering and manipulation taking place within that sphere during both World War I and World War II. So this all goes, if you want to really trace it back as far as the way the United States has been involved in it and the effect on American men, that goes back to Woodrow Wilson deciding to get us involved in World War I. Yeah, that whole situation, like that, we basically, it's fair. It would be fair to say that based on that sphere of conflict never having stopped, we're not in World War III. We're still in World War I. World War I never ended. It just changed direction, and some of the actors jumped in and out of the play periodically. So there you go. It goes back to Indiana Jones. Shit. All right. So if I'm not going to be able to keep Lauren in, I'm going to try to do some of this solo, because it's too important to just like not do a show tonight and not talk about it. So I'm going to continue for at least a little bit here. We may go over some of this stuff again next week. So we've heard a little bit about the Middle Eastern stuff. We'll see if it'll play some more. Maybe?
And so Pakistan ships its weapons and arms directly to Romania. That's what it appears he likely was doing in Romania, or at least in his own efforts, recruiting people from Pakistan to Romania. Remember, he was interviewed by Newsweek Romania as well. It's amazing this guy gets New York Times interviews, gets Newsweek interviews,
Semaphore, all of the all of the establishment rags, like the regime media loved this guy.
Right. Yeah. And it's worth, I highlighted this as well. It says subject states that he obtains money from his wife to help fund his trips to Ukraine. This, again, John Solomon at Just the News just published this today. This is
going to be interesting. So remember we were like, oh yeah, he gets money from his wife. Wink, wink. Listen to this.
My first time. I'm getting all this information in real time, just like you in your audience. And so there's still this sense-making process. But I find this curious because, he claimed in court that he has basically no assets other than, his trucks with Biden-Harris stickers on them and whatnot. And the claim is that he was not paid directly by the U.S. government or the Ukrainian government. So there's this question: how is this guy who's, dead broke, able to fly to, We've
been asking that. We've been asking that every hour.
So, I actually almost got stuck in the UK in, I want to say 2016. It might have been 2018. But one of the two times that we had ICMI in London, the train that I was supposed to take to get to the airport to get back home was canceled. Thank God it happened in a country where I spoke the language of the locals, even if it was the Americanized version that isn't quite right. But I was kind of screwed because I wasn't at a train station. There's a lot of places for people outside the UK. There's a lot of places where there are train stops that are kind of like bus stops. There's nobody there. There's just a place where the train will stop and pick people up and drop people off, but there's no train workers there. So if the train just isn't gonna come, there's nobody you can talk to. And so I was really kind of in trouble there. And the worst part about it was I was in a foreign country where I didn't have phone service. So who was I going to contact? I couldn't get a hold of, like, Allison or anybody back at the hotel to find an alternate route. I was just stuck in an unfamiliar area of London trying to figure out a way to get to the airport to get on my plane. And the two things that occurred to me is, were I don't even know how to contact the people here that I know because I don't have anyone's addresses or phone numbers, just their first and last names. And the second thing I thought of was, if I miss my plane, I don't have the money to get another ticket to get home. So to not have the money to travel just from the UK to the US, like, that's not an expensive ticket in comparison to traveling places where it's a little more difficult to get there and back, like a war zone. And this guy's doing that kind of traveling with no money. It's a very serious question. So when I got to this part of this video, I started looking into some of the information behind, where's this guy's money coming from? And there's pretty much nothing except, I want to say this article is the one I was looking for. Let's close that. Yeah, this is the one this might be the one where the guy talks about the wife of... Nope, this isn't. There was a Medium article that I had last week, and I think my search history, or my history dumped it. I will go over this at another time, but this company employs Mr. Routh's wife. So let's see if we play a little more here. He might actually have something to say about this.
Right. And not only that, I mean, I'll pull up a website for you. If you actually go, I believe the link is still live, but he has a pretty sophisticated modern terrorist recruiting website, which maybe we'll get to in a little bit here, which is very slickly designed and gives very detailed logistical instructions for all of the militants that he's recruiting around the world to come join the soldiers in Ukraine, including what airports to fly into, what bus lines to use to go from, to fly from Pakistan to Warsaw or to Kiev, and then how to get to the exact locations. And as we'll get to a little bit later in this, he explicitly says that in big black bold lettering on the website multiple times, do not tell your local embassy you are coming. Do not alert your local government that you are coming. All you need to do is text me on my WhatsApp number, the front and back of your passport. I will work through my contacts to get you guys no-look visas. And
so let's hear that part again.
Get to in a little bit here, which is very slickly designed and gives very detailed logistical instructions for all of the militants that he's recruiting around the world to come join the soldiers in Ukraine, including what airports to fly into, what bus lines to use to go from, to fly from Pakistan to Warsaw or to Kiev, and then how to get to the exact locations. And as we'll get to a little bit later in this, he explicitly says that in big black bold lettering on the website multiple times, do not tell your local embassy you are coming. Do not alert your local government that you are coming.
Right. So there's obviously money behind this operation. There's obviously enough money for slick web design from what he's talking about here. And then on top of that, he's specifically telling people not to let their local governments know they're coming, and this thing that he's promising.
All you need to do is text me on my WhatsApp number, the front and back of your passport. I will work through my contacts to get you guys no-look visas, and you'll be taken care of.
Right. One person operating on his own could not do that. It is not possible. He is working within a government organization or government organizations. There is no other rational explanation if he's actually able to do that. The only other potential explanation for this is that this crazy guy managed to get to Ukraine with no money, create a slick-looking website on his own with no apparent skill related to doing that, and then made a bunch of promises that he has no possible way of keeping. Like, those are your two possibilities. Either he is actually able to do all this, and this is orchestrated between the U.S. government and the Ukrainian government and whatever organizations within these terrorist organizations, whatever little sub-organizations within these terrorist organizations, that he might be working with. There's no way, for him to do this by himself. Either that's the case, or this guy is the Forrest Gump of, even Forrest Gump was in the military. So, this guy has to be even more Forrest Gump than Forrest Gump for this to be non-government. Yeah. So here's where we say, for entertainment purposes only and allegedly and all that. I don't know what other explanation. If somebody can come up with a valid explanation for me in the chat, how a dude with no money and an extensive arrest history that appears to, like, I don't see anything online about having it been resolved. I don't see anything online about any exonerations or anything being expunged from his record or anything, so that record must still be there, right? Managed to do all this traveling with no money, no apparent education in what he's doing, create this slick website, make these promises, and get involved with recruiting from terrorist groups. Like, it's just a... To me, I think that's a pretty valid question.
Get on a plane and simply fly. And I'll pull that up for you in a second here, because that really gets to what I suspect is happening in the background of all of this. But I want to draw your attention to one other thing, which is still on this slide here. See, it says the memo states that Customs and Border Patrol referred Routh in June 2023 to Homeland Security investigations. HSI was contacted and they refused the case. That's what their own memo said. I mean, they even laced that. They could have said declined to investigate further. But, you know, I read that sentence and I see CBP as being slightly curious itself with that particular choice of words, refused. Now, understand HSI is one of the most corrupt, dark underbellies of the national security state, particularly in its use of false flag operations. HSI was even more active than the FBI, in my assessment, than the FBI. HSI is a...
So just to pause here, what he just pointed out was Border Patrol flagged the guy, and Homeland Security said, we're not touching him.
Is a little bit of a rogue cell, because the FBI has to answer to the Justice Department. That is, everything they do has to be approved. You got to have some, you have to have basically a web of federal prosecutors and their bosses sign off on the FBI, because the FBI is not a free-floating cell. It is.
And yet the FBI still manages to groom people into committing crimes so that they can prosecute them. Right? So it's kind of weird. The FBI, if the FBI can do that on the radar, and Homeland Security is off the radar, what can they get away with?
The intelligence arm of the Justice Department. But DHS is broader than that. It is a free-floating cell. It is the only other domestic intelligence agency. We have 17 intelligence agencies. Only 2 of them are domestic. One of them is the FBI. The other one is DHS. But DHS is unchained. So it's a lot easier to run small cell compartmentalized operations within DHS than it is even at the FBI. And HSI is sort of the FBI of DHS. Now, HSI first came on my radar in 2021 as being this very curious, wide-ranging role in January 6th. Folks, I've mentioned this, I believe, on your show before when we talked about January 6 issues, but you can look. Everyone now can look at an individual named Jeremy Brown, who was...
Oh, dang it. I tried to pause and I hit tweet. I'm not tweeting. I'm pausing. But it's going to freeze up for a minute here. Stop. There we
go. One of these folks affiliated with the Oath Keepers in the run-up to the January 6th affair. And he had his door compartmentalized operations within DHS than it is even at the FBI. And HSI is sort of the FBI of DHS.
So that's kind of a whole bunch of initials to throw at you, but basically Homeland Security is more encapsulated and separated from government oversight than the FBI is, and the FBI has done some things basically that they shouldn't have been able to get away with. And so again, what if they can get away with some things they're not supposed to be able to get away with? What can Homeland Security get away with? While we're interrupted here, Richard Bier is asking about using streaming from Hot Tub, or a possible fundraiser to improve technical performance here. Richard Bier gave us $5. Have you looked into resolving your computer issues by streaming from? I've never even checked out Hot Tub. I heard that the computer works way better when the stream host is hosting from within Hot Tub. Unless you're talking, if that's not an application and you're talking about an actual hot tub, I don't have one of those, so. But I'm assuming that it's some kind of an application or something, because they get weird names. So unless it's not, you can DM me. Richard Bier gave us another $5 and said, by texting some random person both sides of a passport, wouldn't he have enough information to take over that person's identity and set up bank accounts in their name? Maybe. Yeah. And these people doing so and not notifying anyone where they are going, could come to their end without anyone knowing and helping to facilitate the money laundering scheme. Yep. That's a very distinct possibility. Right? And as we have talked about before, I've said before, and this is not allegedly, in my opinion, the Ukraine war, the United States involvement in it, and the United States involvement with the Ukrainian government in general has been a giant money laundering scheme. The United States has been over there stirring shit, and real people's lives are being affected. Right? There's some stuff I cannot elaborate on, but it hits home that real people's lives are being affected by this maneuvering, by this backroom, backdeal bullshit that the government of my country is doing, that do not deserve to suffer the effects of my government's manipulation and maneuvering and money laundering and warmongering. None of this should be happening. Just saying. But let's see if we can get back into this.
Now, HSI first came on my radar in 2021 as being this very curious, wide-ranging role in January 6th. Folks, I've mentioned this, I believe, on your show before when we talked about January 6 issues, but you can look. Everyone now can look up an individual named Jeremy Brown, who was one of these folks affiliated with the Oath Keepers in the run-up to the January 6 affair, and he had his door knocked on by two HSI agents in about a month before January 6, and he secretly recorded his conversations with these two HSI agents, and the tape is absolutely stunning. They were concerned about upcoming protest activities a month before January 6 happened. They asked Jeremy Brown to basically infiltrate the Oath Keepers, to basically participate in everything. They threatened him with carrots and sticks. Basically, they said, they effectively said in so many words, we can make your life really hard, or we can do this the easy way. And that maybe there's even going to be a job for you in the Joint Terrorism Task Force. It was basically.
Now, what does that sound like? Get these guys in trouble, and maybe we'll get you a promotion.
Either you become an agent of DHS's operation ahead of January 6th, or you, a regular civilian who has committed no crimes, will have your life destroyed. And they even called him on his cell phone at 9 a.m. that day. HSI was involved in dozens of these undercovers. And they coordinated with the FBI through the Joint Terrorism Task Force. But then lo and behold, HSI reappears in Trump assassination story number 1. If you recall, during the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, there was diminished Secret Service representation.
Yes.
Because of two things. One, there was the tail end of the NATO summit, so Secret Service had to be deployed for all the VIPs around the NATO summit, and then there was Joe Biden's trip, which then also, reduced the present capacity of the Secret Service, and so the top-up agents for the Secret Service for Trump assassination attempt number 1 came from HSI.
So this is where we're going to pause from here. And we're going to go to another window. And I'm not going to play video in this window, so it shouldn't be a problem. All right, this is from just the other day. Here we go. You gotta the Trump troll accounts are hilarious. They're so completely like this is the quality of their work. But so 10 p.m. October 8, 2024. This is posted, and I'm going to pull this down so you can see it. Josh Hawley points out, new whistleblower alleges that Secret Service still isn't providing President Trump with full protection, and they are trying to conceal it from the government's own auditors. So again, very valid question. What's going on here? So we have Trump's security reduced during the first assassination attempt. We have obvious government involvement with the second attempted assassin, who, by the way, is the first person to publicly suggest that Iran should try to assassinate the former president. And then we have, after 2 publicly confirmed assassination attempts, which, as Mike has pointed out, and I will since he's not here to do it, it is just what we know about. Right? There are others that we will not know about because they won't have been confirmed by the news media. But after 2 publicly confirmed, undeniable attempts at assassinating the president, or the former president, Secret Service still isn't providing him with full protection, and they're trying to cover it up, that they're not. So we go back to this, like, what we're seeing here is the second attempt is confirmed to be involved with the Ukraine war. Second attempt is confirmed to be suspiciously involved likely with government agencies. A lot of people have said this is about just one thing. This is obviously about just hiding the Epstein list. This is obviously about just preventing, Trump from getting control over the FBI. This is obviously about preventing Trump from getting control over the federal budget. This is about a lot of stuff. But probably the biggest is the military-industrial complex. This is about protecting the military-industrial complex. So why is that important to us? Who gets sent to war against their will? Right. It's not ladies. Ladies can enlist if they want. They can apply for combat positions. They can do, they can take any pathway that is open to men in the military, if they can prove themselves on lower standards, by the way. But they don't have to. U.S. women don't get drafted. U.S. women have never been drafted. There was one time in the history of the entire country during which they considered drafting women to be nurses during the war. And they didn't do it. That was World War II. and they had a combination of things happen. There were enough that they didn't have to, and the war was coming to an end. So that put the kibosh to that. But even then, they wouldn't have been drafting them to put them in the trenches. They were going to be drafting them to put them in the hospitals. Right? So, and it's not that hospitals are not targets, but the trenches are more direct targets. So in terms of, what this is about, all of this information that I've been showing you, this is about how deep and wide and convoluted, ingrained, pervasive, and defended the ability of the American government to exploit you as cannon fodder has become. If that problem didn't exist, if that money laundering issue wasn't in play, if that, and frankly, in general, looking back, pretty much, I can suggest that pretty much everything after the Vietnam War, and probably many things during and before, was all the wars were money laundering. Profiteering and money laundering. Right? It's Albert Nader Retro has it nailed. $2 Canadian. He says it's about money. And it's always about money. Right? Money is worth more to the American government than a man's life. It's worth more to the American government than 100 men's lives. It's worth more to the American government than 1,000, than 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. You can't pick a number of men that the United States government will not sacrifice for the almighty dollar. And what we are seeing is the blob of a federal bureaucracy that we have, that everybody calls the deep state, scrambling as hard as it can because a candidate has threatened its capacity to sacrifice the lives of men all over the world for the almighty American dollar. For me, that's some scary shit. Like, there isn't anything scarier than that idea. That we have an all-encompassing, controlled, by the government system of exploiting men all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Selling men's blood for the fucking almighty dollar.
Mm-mm.
Hey, Lauren, we've been missing you. Did we knock you out?
No, it's been that kind of week. Say that. Yeah, it's been, a long one. Just say that.
I was afraid that I had something going on with my computer that had made it impossible for you to talk. So I went on and played stuff, and I don't know if you got to hear it and see it and everything, but it was... Did it completely cut you off?
No, it didn't. It was me. Okay. My fault.
Well, it's better than... I was like, what the hell is going on? I've never had this kind of problems with my computer. And like right in the middle of discussing a government conspiracy. Holy fuck. And I didn't want to say, God, the NSA is interfering. Because I would really rather not believe that. That's a terrifying prospect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that I know that that's not what was happening, I can tell you my computer is really confused by one other thing. I have tape over my camera, And when I share screens and do stuff on Discord and do stuff in OBS, even though I'm not using the camera and I haven't activated it in any of those things, the programs, the apps, try to access it, and they get confused because there's no picture. And so when I went into the task manager, I kept seeing it's reporting back to Microsoft that there's a problem with my camera over and over again. Yeah, there's a fucking problem with my camera. It's the problem exists.
You can't have access
between
to it.
chair and keyboard. It's not an ID10T error though. It's deliberate. I don't want my camera activating unless I have decided to allow it to do so. And therefore, if something does actually activate my camera, all it's going to see is the backside of some electrical tape. So, yeah. But my bottom line in this, and I know I'm not specifically trying to campaign here. I know a lot of people don't vote. But, guys, if you're of age to potentially be sent to war, this is probably the most important election of your life.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're of an age where you might rely on the next generation to maintain the infrastructure that is going to provide your care in your old age, which is a lot of Generation X, like the people that are older than me, this is probably the most important election of your life, too.
Yeah.
Right? And if you are not going to vote, at least talk to other guys about this. For two reasons. First of all, you have the situation of, there's a lot of guys that think that big government is the answer to men's issues. And they think the Democrat Party, because they're more liberal, will listen to a movement that is a human rights movement because we call ourselves what we are. Which I don't believe. I don't think that the left cares. Not the politicians anyway. Like the people maybe. The grassroots politicians, no. Government, no. Officials, no. Authorities, no. They don't care. Right. But the second reason is they can't make the country get involved physically, like people on the ground, men on the ground. I will not say boots on the ground because those boots, every set of boots on the ground in a situation like that represents a man. That's not boots. Those are men's feet on the ground. Men's asses on the line. Men's lives on the line, right? If nobody will report, if everyone refuses, if everyone says no, what are they going to do? I mean, there's a lot of resistance to the draft during the Vietnam War. There were a lot of people that burned their draft cards. There were a lot of people that fled to another country. I don't know if Canada's going to be a place to go to this time. I don't think you can flee to Canada this time. But if men protested against that en masse, right? If they had another, there's so many reasons why there should be. Forget 1 million men. How about 10 million men? How about 50 million men marching? Yelling, "Hell no, we won't go." That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So if you're not gonna vote, at least be prepared to be loud. Lawfully, peacefully, without taking the God, I can't think of the name of the anarchist group. God, I'm tired. That's terrible. Antifa. Without taking the Antifa route, we're not here to set things on fire. All right. All the fires we light are proverbial, and they're under the asses of people, not in people's homes and buildings and stuff. You know, be loud and rational, not destructive.
Man, it's been so long since I've heard anybody say anything about Antifa. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
where have you been?
Yeah, they got quiet once Biden showed up, right? They achieved their goal. They got rid of the orange man.
Yep.
I bet you, if Trump gets elected, we'll start seeing Antifa again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. This is just men have to stop tolerating this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And women shouldn't vote, but we have to, because the women who are going to vote to send our family members, our loved ones to war, are going to vote.
Yep.
So if you don't want your son to get drafted, if you don't want your grandson to be facing a draft later in his life, if you don't want your husband, your boyfriend, your male coworkers, your cousins, your buddies, if you don't want those guys to be subject to this, if you don't want to see the United States government trading their blood for almighty dollars, don't support an unaccountable female candidate who has never been subject to the draft because she's a woman, who is all in for this money laundering. Try to get somebody in there who won't do that. And the only guy that we have a chance with at this point is Trump.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you think he's a buffoon. It doesn't matter whether you don't like all of his policies. In my opinion, this is the most important one. We didn't have this shit going on when he was president.
Yeah.
And I think he's the only person that has a chance of putting a stop to it.
Oh my God, I'm just so scared that they're gonna try to pull this shit again, and steal it again.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they will.
Yeah.
NobaFan21 gave us $1 and said, history question, didn't a lot of men protest going to war in Vietnam? Didn't a ton of Americans get wrongfully arrested? And yes. They did. And that did happen. But the line freedom isn't free doesn't just apply to going into the military to shoot people on some foreign soil. It also applies to speaking up when you might get punished for it. And the anti-war movement during the Vietnam War was a counterculture. They were in the minority. This needs to be a majority. A majority of men need to stand up and basically give the military-industrial complex the middle finger.
Yeah.
On both hands.
Indeed.
Right? It just needs to happen. There is no... You can't tolerate this and have the human race survive. This way of money laundering, this using war to launder money, this using world war, constant world conflicts to launder money, is going to eventually escalate to the point where we will see thermonuclear war, or we will see so much war and killing and so much fallout economically and so much violence in nations around the world from it that we simply won't be able to survive it. You won't need global thermonuclear war to destroy the human population. All you need is global thermonuclear tempers.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
So that's my take on this. We're about halfway through this, and I'm not going to try to continue it any further, but I did hint at something earlier that I want to touch on real quick. Remember we said, oh, he's getting all his funding from his wife?
Yeah.
So let me open this. This is from a highly questionable source. It's government, but it's a source who has been through a false allegation and come out on the other side with more credibility than the rest of the government, in my personal opinion, as it takes forever to load up. So the website that we're looking at here is gets.house.gov. So this is Matt Getz's page on a congressional website. The coincidences continue. New details about would-be assassin Ryan Routh's wife. So the details that I found interesting, and there was another source that I looked at that it was just a Medium article when I originally found out about this. It's not the one that I have, but...
Hello?
Can you hear me? Whoops.
Hello?
All right, can you hear me now? Did it hang up? It didn't hang. It couldn't have hung me up. Oh, for fuck's sake, really? I opened the congressional website, and all of a sudden, Lauren can't hear me. The fuck? Yeah, Discord froze. Of course Discord froze, because Discord would freeze right now. Okay, can you hear me now, Lauren? Ah. Let me really quick.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Now I can hear you.
Yay! Good grief! So, I guess I should have known. Opening a government website. So the website that we're dealing with is gaetz.house.gov, and it's his media page. And we'll go back over the headline here. The coincidences continue. New details about would-be assassin Ryan Routh's wife. Remember I said, she's allegedly funding him. So these new details.
Yeah.
During a questioning yesterday by Representative Matt Getz, Homeland Security Investigations Executive Associate Director Chief Katrina W. Berger admitted that Routh had been flagged as suspicious by Customs and Border Patrol last year when he returned to the U.S. from Ukraine. So we looked at that. The guy had talked about that. Let me see if I can find... There we go. While Homeland Security did not find Ralph suspicious enough to investigate, the information about Ralph getting his funding from his wife Kathleen Schaefer has raised a whole new line of questions. Right? Jeff Childers researched Kathleen Schaefer and learned that in addition to the CBP report, Schaefer edited Ralph's book and ran a GoFundMe for his Ukrainian recruitment crusade. If Schaefer is the same woman in the LinkedIn account, she is employed by a huge internationally publicly traded company called Maximus Corporation, which claimed to have trained CDC workers in administering COVID shots.
Oh my god. This just gets fucking better. Oh my god.
And brags about helping the Department of Defense modernize its technology systems. According to ChatGPT, which, neither here nor there, Maximus Corporation, of course, you wouldn't just want to name your corporation Big Corporation, right? So they named it Maximus. Maximus Corporation has significant connections to the U.S. security state.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprised at all.
So here's where I go back to the other Medium post by Claire Best, is the CIA operating a power grab behind the front of Maximus? This is from February.
Wow.
This is not new information. Right? Maximus Incorporated is a government services provider operating in the US, UK, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Israel. It primarily started out with Medicaid contracts, tying it to Catholic charities who provide healthcare and children's services. From there, it has expanded into pretty much any government-involved service that would make it easy to collect
data. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Which could be used to make public services more efficient. That data is also data that can be traded, sold, and used for blackmail, elections, and global control. Data can be leaked by the millions into the wrong hands. Maximus recently admitted a data leak of information on 11 million people. Right. So we have that. They have their little statement here. And then we have Maximus made the above data breach seem like not so serious of a matter, but that's not quite true when you consider how wide-reaching Maximus's tentacles go and how compromised state officials are in examining this with any real depth. Maximus was started in 1975 by a DARPA Vietnam vet. Just 4 years after the New York Times journalist obtained the Pentagon Papers, 7,000 pages of leaked documents from the Department of Defense telling a very different story of the Vietnam War.
I like the quotations, leaked.
Yep.
Makes you think that maybe it might have happened on purpose.
Then we have DARPA is tied to Jason, July, August, September, October, and November, and a secret group of scientists. There's a link there for this. Cold War Science Advisors. Same year that Maximus was founded, the Senate Church Committee was formed, a committee that would reveal the CIA's clandestine human experiments, otherwise known as MKUltra. So this has been going on for that long. We know MKUltra is ancient. The CIA operated MKUltra experiments behind dozens of front organizations, from educational facilities to hospitals, prisons, nonprofits. Individually, many of these had no idea the CIA was their employer. So you have this whole net with little ties going off in all these different directions. There are indications described in this article, and given these links, that have been drawn between various things, as you can see. All indications are that the CIA's current facade is Maximus Incorporated, which in September 2023 hired a new general counsel, John Martinez, whose background is in the CIA, as well as other forms of intelligence and defense.
Of course.
Right. And here we have an actual congressman pointing out the connection between the wife of Trump's would-be assassin, funding Trump's would-be assassin's activities, and the company that this individual has highlighted as the likely front of the CIA.
Insane.
It's just like the baby boomers had the Kennedy assassination, and it was a mystery for like forever, and they were all obsessed with it and everything. We just got dumped on us something that makes that mystery look like, a puzzle book puzzle that you might enjoy at a party. They had Watergate, which was... They didn't find out until after their grandkids were born that Watergate was not just about getting ahead in a campaign. It wasn't until, I want to say, the 90s or the early 2000s that it came out that actually what they were looking for in the Watergate Hotel when they broke in was whether or not LBJ had a letter that proved that Nixon engaged in some shenanigans in regard to the Vietnam War and when the Vietnam War was going to end prior to getting elected. Which, I'm not going to get into all that, but like that mystery still seems like, party game puzzle. Here we have this whole weird, like, this looks to me in my head when I'm looking at all these connections. I'm getting that stupid meme, with the strings and the, what's the name of it? What's his name? The conspiracy theory meme where, you have the big conspiracy board with all the strings and thumbtacks and things written down and all that. There's actually a name for that meme, and I used to be able to just recall it, but my brain is, yeah. So, in any case, yeah, and again, all of that convoluted, messed up, various bits of I don't know, government involvement, government agency involvement, and so on, are all wrapped around funding the trade of men's blood, men's deaths, for the almighty dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, believe, Sits Like Inu says, Pepe Sylvia, I believe that's not the name of the meme, but, I believe you're on the right track. But... Okay, and Laptop 215 asks, not sure if this is a dead issue already, but do the Honey Badgers have any opinion on Alan Lichtman? Dude is being championed as this prodigy of election predictions currently by the left. Is it the left mainstream media? Because if it is, then my opinion is that they're probably trying to manipulate you.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
So I'm not familiar with the guy. I'm not familiar with the name of the guy, so I don't have an opinion on him specifically. But I will tell you this: if everything in the news media tells you a particular person is a shoo-in to get elected, it is to, if you're in favor of that person, inspire you to go vote, and if you're against that person, to make you feel so demoralized that you don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all about psyching you up or psyching you out. It doesn't matter if that person is competent or not. It doesn't matter. None of it matters, really, in terms of the media. They're not going to be telling you things that they believe are true and that can be confirmed and all that. They're going to tell you what they think will get them the results that they want. Richard Beer gave us $5 and said, I recall hearing that a number of charitable organizations were involved in the funding and some support of the migrant caravans. I wonder if those organizations were getting any funding for that effort from Maximus by any chance. It's another good question. Very good question.
Mm-hmm.
So from Richard Beer, we have two really solid questions in regard to this, because he also is the one that posted the Super Chow asking, by texting some random person both sides of a passport, wouldn't he have enough information to take over that person's identity and set up bank accounts in their name? And these people doing so and not notifying anyone about where they're going could come to their end without anyone knowing and helping to facilitate the money laundering scheme. So again, exploiting, like, they could be showing up there to get killed and then have their identity stolen and money laundered through what looks like legitimate accounts in their name. And of course, men are the ones being targeted.
Yep.
So, with that, I'm just going to reiterate, men need to stop tolerating this shit. You need to raise your voices en masse, rationally, persuasively, non-violently,
Mm-hmm.
and non-stop.
Yeah. Absolutely. You don't stand up for yourself, nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah. The number of women who are going to do it can probably be counted on one hand. Maybe two.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly right.
But with that, I think I've thrown enough. This isn't a sausage. This is more of a stone soup. A little bit of everything in it.
Yes.
So hopefully the stone soup isn't too chaotic. We got one more super chat, it says. Alright, let me wait for it to come through here. So I saw the hot tub one, I saw the passport one, I saw the charitable organizations one, and read those. Is there one beyond that, Richard, after the charitable organizations one? Because that, if there is, it hasn't come through just yet. And I'm going to try clicking out of the super chat, or super chow. Ah, there it goes, there it goes. He gave us another $5 and said, have you heard the one about during the 1980 campaign that George Bush took a ride in an SR-71 to Iran to convince the leadership there to not release the embassy hostages until after the election? I haven't, but it's plausible. It sounds plausible to someone who doesn't look into the logistics of such an endeavor. Well,
yes.
So that's the thing. Nixon's shenanigans involved telling France, going to France and screwing around, telling them not to accept anything from the previous administration until after he got elected. And when you wonder why the deep state or the establishment might accuse Donald Trump's incoming administration of doing stuff like that, it's because they have a history of doing that themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There is some other stuff. We're going to have another week of talking about this at least, because next week we'll look more into the connections, but there's also another shenanigan that has taken place involving his son.
Uh-oh.
And there's a connection that I've drawn between that shenanigan and what was done to General Flynn. So, but that's just an upcoming promise. And it just is more pattern, right? More for you to pay attention to. And what we're discussing here is really all about how important your government thinks it is to maintain its ability to launder its money with your blood.
Amen.
And on that dark statement, we are ending the show. So, thanks, Lauren, for struggling through the massive technical difficulties with me. Thanks, everybody who stuck out the circus, for listening through all of that, and for the suggestions. If I can ever get to a point where I'm not working so much overtime that I have time to actually mess around with my computer, I will look into some of those suggestions. But I'm averaging 50 to 60 hours a week at my regular job. On top of that, I'm doing the Honey Badger radio stuff, so it's a bit of a challenge for me.
Yeah.
But they did seem like good suggestions, so if I seem like I'm frustrated with them, it's not that. I'm just frustrated with there only being 24 hours in every day. I would like about 6 more. That'd be very useful. Thanks to everybody who works in the background to help make HBR Talk happen. And good night, everybody. We will see you next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.